Well, Kenyan youth will remember the late Pope Francis as a religious leader who stood by them at the height of last year's anti-government protests by condemning the police brutality meted on protesters.
The late Pope further called for youth inclusion in governance in defense of the Gen Zs, and David Mudhoka reports on the Pope's scathing rebuke of the government last year, which left the Ministry of Foreign Affairs up in arms.
In June 2024, the Gen Z-led protests against the President William Ruto administration hit fever pitch. In that month, Parliament fell, forcing President Ruto to drop the controversial finance bill of 2024, or to figuratively climb down from the top of the tree. Like most, the Gen Z uprising was hostile and bloody. Many were killed, more injured, and some abducted. The scenes caught the attention of the late Pope Francis, who on June 29th, through his representative, condemned the government's hostile response.
Oppressors against the oppressed, heavily armed security forces against poorly protected protesters, water cannons, tear gas, live bullets against sticks and stones. Oppression against protests, sirens and explosions against the shouting and pleading of protesters, a state machinery shooting free free will, blood on the streets.
The rebuke rattled the government, and in a letter to Vatican, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said, and I quote, "Without pointing out the broader context of the government's action as a responsible diplomat, the representative chose to use his exalted position to berate the government of Kenya and its institutions. We find this conduct to be reprehensible and unbecoming of a distinguished member of the diplomatic corps." End of quote. The late Pope was known to walk the talk. His empathy and the Roman Catholic Church's affection towards the Gen Zs went beyond words. The Holy Family Basilica Church, for example, sheltered tear-gas protesters and also gave them a platform.
We have witnessed a revolution in Nairobi. What happens after this? Politics in this country will have to change. Youth on the streets wanting to get Zechariah out of the tree.
Pope Francis' prayer for youth inclusion in governance came 9 years after he made a similar prayer while visiting the country in 2015. In the one and only trip to Kenya, the Pope met the late former President Daniel Moi, the late former President Mwai Kibaki, and retired President Uhuru Kenyatta. President William Ruto, who was then Uhuru's deputy, will meet the Pope as a head of state on 15th June last year, exactly 2 weeks before the Pope hit out at the Kenyan government. David Mudhoka, NTV, Nairobi.